All right, this one says the graph shows a height phi to an object above the ground after it was launched from the ground. And here it is. It says which function is best represented by the graph. Let's see. At 2, it peaks at about 64, and it goes from 0 to 4 before it hits. All I'm going to do is go into my y equals and graph each of these. Excuse me. So, looking at my graph there, crosses twice at -4 and 0, so it's not A. I needed to cross at 0 and +4. So I'm going to go into D, and now I'm going to graph that one now. -16x squared plus 128x minus 256. I graph. Ooh, really close. It hits at -4 or +4, but it doesn't go to 0. And it's way too low, so it's definitely not B. Let's try C now. Okay, this one, it does hit at 0 and 4. Let's zoom out to see if it crosses at about 64. So that would be at 50. And 64 should be at 2. Now, it's really hard to tell, right? But we can go to second table. We can find at 2, it does cross at 64. So it ends up being C. Anytime you need to reset your zoom, you can go back to see our graph, it's way off. Hit zoom, hit number 6, Z standard, and that'll fix it back to what it was originally. Okay, next question. Describe the relationship between the linear factors of a quadratic and the expression in their zeros. Well, this one, remember, to get a quadratic, it should factor into two factors, like x plus something and x minus something, right? Now, when you use FOIL, you don't add, you multiply. So, if I multiplied 288 times 288, the only way I would get that is if multiplying those, I would get 576, and I don't get that by multiplying. I get a far bigger number. When you do 24 times a -24, you get 576H. Now, another thing you could do, you could go to y equals, you could graph it, x squared minus 576, and hit graph. Now, you see it's still thinking, and I can't see anything in my graph, so I'm going to zoom out. Okay, we've got a cross right here and a cross right here. So, what we need to do is see where they intersect with 0. You guys remember doing this? Where you graph your second line as 0, and then you go into second trace, go to intersect. First curve, you keep on moving to the left until you see that floating x. That's at -24. Second trace, intersect, go to the other side. And you can follow where your x is by seeing that number. And, oh, there it is. 24 and -24. Those are the zeros. That is H. Okay, 23 says, what appears to be the domain of the part of the exponential grid? Now, domain is x values. So you can already eliminate B and D because they say y. So our x values, they go left and right. It goes from -1 to +3. It is A. All right. I'm going to do one more and then we'll stop the video and do the next video. Scientists are studying a bacteria sample for this function. Gives the number of sample at the end of X days. What is the best interpretation of the values of this function? The initial number of the bacteria is 12. No, the initial number is 245. The initial bacteria increases at a rate of 88% each day. Not quite. It only increases at 12 each day. Because to get that, you start with 1 plus 0.12, that would be the increase. So it's not G. H, number of bacteria increases at 12% each day. Yes. And J, the number of bacteria at the end of one day is 245. No, that's how much it started with the first day. Okay, we've got one more video to finish these up.